across the conference, we talk about modernization through the keynotes. Then Vidra talked a lot about the strategy. Earlier, Nuwan talked about what's the modernization look like. So let me add two things. First thing is that modernization can happen many different levels. For example, it could happen at a business process level, or at the user experience level, or at the technology level, or infrastructure, or how you run it, etc. It can happen at different levels. The second comment it is that it's the architecture that make modernization first practical, second sustainable. Because unless you get the architecture correct, you can try, but you won't go very far, and you won't be able to sustain it. So today we have a panel which is a rare balance of both the deep expertise on working on these topics. Also, each of them run systems that does this. So let me introduce our panelists. First of all, we have Anupama from ICA. So the ICA, her team, she works as platform lead in the ICA. Her team work with API manager, and so they do many use cases. One of the very interesting use cases is they are managing prices. So the ICA is a supermarket chain. They are dynamically managing the prices, also with time, and also personalized for different branches. So that's the first. We'll talk about that later. Yeah. Welcome. Sure. So then we have Vincent. He's a software architect and team manager from Verispin. It's an insurance broker. And they used most of our product, I think pretty much all, right?
Yes.
Yes. All our product. And they are using, we're using the combination of our products. They are handling, so a lot of their customers are other businesses doing a lot of the use cases. So they handle a lot of it. We'll hear more.
Yes.
Thirdly, we have Balaji. So the Balaji work for Bosch Healthcare, head of Bosch Healthcare Services. He's working on this use case, which is very interesting, which is it's an IoT, medical IoT platform, which is trying to modernize hospitals, right? Change the healthcare for the future. And we have Olivier. He worked for UCL, okay, trying to get it right, UCL Leuven.
UC Louvain. UC Louvain University.
Yeah, oh sorry, UC Leuven. Sorry, I'll continue. So it's one of the oldest universities in Europe. So they are using API Manager and a few of other products to handle student registration. Basically, both the students and the staff is basically interacting in that. Okay, so now we have the panel. So, okay, let me start with my first question. First question is to Balaji. Could you talk about a real-world example? I think you will talk about the modernization, hospital modernization use case.
Yeah. First and foremost, yeah, thanks for having me here. I think modernization, what we do is specific to a hospital called Bosch Health Campus. And it has got its own hospital called RBK, Robert Bosch Krankenhaus, which is one of the largest hospitals in Germany. And we really wanted to make sure that there are three objectives that we fix in terms of modernization. We want to make sure the customer experience is improved. And most of the data that is there, or systems which is there, is basically on silos. It's federated, but it's siloed. So we want to make sure that the systems may not really talk to each other, but at least be in sync That is very important. And the third thing is we want to drive more efficiency by virtue of this. So with this as the kind of prerogatory, we ventured into how do I modernize. I think in the last talk, we had an excellent architecture, a block diagram which shows the middleware, how it kind of exposes the system of record up to the apps. That's exactly what we're trying to build. So we are building an API manager and an integrator along with IDPs, which will help lift, ship, make the services available or data available for future purposes. I think that's what we are doing, basically, to get the data in place for the users to use.
Thanks, Balaji. We'll dig in more.
Sure.
I want to put the same question to Olivier. Basically, talk about the modernization use cases you are working on.
Yeah, so let me give the context. We are a university, a big administration, and we have a lot of services that works very alone and very not communicating with the other services. So yeah, a few years ago, the big issue was that since every service like schedule for students, like data for employees or data for students, they do not talk to each other. It was very difficult to create an application on top of it. So we had to look for something to create more reusable components, and that's where with WSO2 we implemented ESB along with the API manager, which was the first phase of the modernization of the IT sector. But this leads to other difficulties, since as a university we have very critical data which had to stay on-prem. So our ESB was not enough. The idea is now to, along with WSO2, to install an API manager locally to handle different clients and have more observability, more security concern.
So I'll now go to Anupama. So okay, now we heard two use cases, right? Two common problems. And so again, Anupama can add a little bit on your use case too, but then talk about what are the common challenges when we try to do modernization.
Yeah, so I'll also try to put a context here. So ICA is ICA Gruppen. So we have ICA Retail Supermarket, most of our business is there. And then we have ICA Banken, ICA Real Estate, ICA Pharmacy. So ICA Insurance, Fastigheter they call themselves. So we are a group of company, and retail is the biggest one. And we have 1,300 stores in the Sweden itself. So there is even an article about if ICA is not there in Sweden, there will be many villages where there will be no stores. So ICA is that kind of emotion for Swedish customers. So I sit as a platform lead, and as Vidura also said, modernization is a continuous journey. It's not going to stop. And in 2018, we set up the architecture for ICA for how it's going to run 2024. And ICA is quite modernized in its infrastructure and its platforms and the way the store should operate. So ICA is really in that modernization journey. And I, being a platform lead, I need to make sure that everything is as per the business demand, because we sit exactly in the middle. So for us, the three challenges that we face every day, I will not say that it stops. So the three challenges that we have is complexity. Complexity in terms of the architecture, legacy, how to make sure that the data mapping with the new system and the old system and whatever we are building do correctly. So that's the complexity is the first thing. Maybe I will map with Vidura's triangle only: technology, process, and people. So it's complexity, and then the next thing comes is competency, because we have people who are working with the old system and you don't want to replace them. You want them to become the competent with the new system, new modernization platforms. So that second challenge that every day we face is competency, because something new is coming every day. So, and then the third one is communication. How these things should communicate. And there is a talk also during the whole journey about developers. And the platform team sits with a lot of developers, like the product developers, the platform developers, business developer, network developers. They all are, they need to communicate with each other. So these are the 3 challenges that we every day face and try to solve. And we felt that communication is the key, right? Then, you can solve more above stack. And how we solved it is, we were before a bit reactive, now we are proactive. We talk about our issues. And before that integration, I think in many organizations still integration is like small teams, sit in the side, nobody knows about. So we make ourselves in the organization so visible that nobody can ignore us. And if you go in ICA today and say, they don't have that W in their word. So they call it as WSO2. So if you say WSO2, there will be definitely people, you go and talk to that team, they will solve it. And even if you say API, that's how it is right now at ICA. So that's where we laid down the architecture in 2018, that people should know about this platform, people should use this platform. And since this platform becomes so into the heart of ICA, other platforms also following the same approaches. So that's what we did we are continuously doing to face all these modernization challenges.
So complexity, competency, and communication, right? So I think we have the background. Now I think we can get to the heart of our discussion. To that, let me go to Vincent. So the question is, what are the architecture patterns, approaches? So, okay, let me put it this way, right? So the goal of architecture is to solve these problems, right? So it try to reduce the complexity so that we can understand it. So also we can break the things down so that you can move things separately, easy to understand, right? Also easy for the team to manage, right? So let's try to go a little bit more deep for specific patterns, specific example. Vincent, go.
Yes, I will try. Thanks for the invitation. Just to give some of context, like Olivier, Verspiren is an insurance broker, and we are starting digital transformation and now modernization about our system from 3 years ago right now. We use all of the WSO2 products like API Manager, Identity Server. We use Micro-Integrator. We use also Choreo and Ballerina. And we have implemented some different architecture pattern. I think we saw this pattern this morning by Thierry, who talk about a strangler fit pattern. We use this pattern right now, this year, for modernizing our legacy backend, because insurance broker, like banking system in France, is hosted by IBM COBOL system, maybe a system with 60 years old right now, and the main goal is to make smooth transition to a modern system without breaking change and breaking user, disrupting the user capacity. We also implement another architecture pattern. We use the approach of API first. We implement some API for decoupling, database access for decoupling, technical as an aspect. And we also implement event-driven architecture also with some Kafka or some RabbitMQ into our system. So I think these 3 patterns can help us and help Apuna or my colleagues right there for solving their problem. I think, to my mind, this is the architecture pattern.
So while we speak, so after my next question, I'll take the questions from the audience as well. So please put your hand up if you have any questions. I'll pick and come back. So before that, I'll put now, Vincent talked about 3 patterns. For rest of the panel, is there any other patterns to add or any other thoughts around the?
So I think for me it is more the strategy of implementation, if you see. And what at Bosch Health Campus, what we do is we first get the foundation in place, and then we create the microservices on top of it, and we onboard applications, and then we create a data warehouse applications, and then we create analytics, and then from insights we transform to predictions. This is a whole strategical map. I think this itself is a pattern from what we see. I think it will all be coming under REST-based architecture. We move from a journey of API first to AI first. That's what we do.
So let me add a clarifying question. So even if you move to AI first, that doesn't mean the API first practices go away.
It will not go. It will not go away. So like we all say, right? Modernization is a journey. It won't stop. And like there is a say, you have to run faster to stay in your place. So for AI first to happen, API first will have to keep going. That's how it is.
Yeah, in our case, it is like we are a business, right? So we have to cater all the business requirements. So we made our architecture according to our business only, so that we can take care of. Bank has a separate kind of security levels. Pharmacy is different and stores are completely different. So we made our architecture in a way that, it's simple for, obviously, for all our users, and the complexity and how we, handle those kinds of things, our roles around the API manager, that is with us. So for them, it's like, yeah, I'm in bank, so they can see only bank APIs, and they are even hidden into their own roles, and they don't know how that have been completely configured with the identity access management. So that's that's where WSO2 actually quite flexible to use for such kind of patterns. Yep.
Okay. Any questions from the audience? Yes, Frank. Yeah. Faster.
The question is, if we start with an architecture and then during development you refine the architecture to the actual code, and often the actual code does not reflect the architecture anymore. Do you take care that the architecture is kept current? And if you do, how do you do it? Is the question clear? Yeah?
I mean, I think architecture is also modernizing with the time. So when we started, as I started saying that in 2018, we laid down the architecture for 2024, and now we are working for next 5 years. So that was like, WSO2, you can use tenant-based architecture and everything. And we soon realized when we started WSO2 journey that, it's not going to work because there is a lot of problem how, each business communicate, tenant roles, how everyone logs into the system. And that was creating problem. And if we go with that kind of approach, the cost is also increasing. Cost is obviously a hidden part, but it is always there in the business demand. So we realized that, and then the moment we get the opportunity to upgrade the platform, we change the whole architecture immediately. And within, ICA is there, the WSO2 started its journey in 2018, and we are 2024, and we have jumped 3 versions. We have introduced micro gateway, we have decom micro gateway, we have bring up micro integrator, because that we see the future of micro integrator now. So it is, the architecture is also modernizing with our approaches. It takes time.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think very interesting comment, which is that I think the architecture, so you have the code, but architecture is how you look at it, right? How you do. So when the understanding evolved, the code would change some extent, but the way we look at it start changing, and these tools like APIs let you break it up in different ways. Now let me one more question again, and I'll try to go back to the audience. Could you give one or two examples from the panel that something that you would get wrong when you're trying to do the modernization, ideal from the architecture side, but then figure out later and fix?
Yeah, we have a couple of things. One is basically the whole modernization can be seen in two perspectives. One is either business-driven or like it's tech-driven. So when it is tech-driven, which is like a bottom-up approach, sometimes in the whole realm of things we fail to look at what is going to be the experience that the user will have. So we kind of lift and shift a lot of things. We retire, we refactor. At the end of the day, it is not usable. So that has been we have worked on cases not in this current use case, but in like previous things where there were a modernization activity which happened where we kind of moved into a different tech stack or something, and it was ultimately not usable because the customer didn't want to do that. So there is also an element of what the user needs, which will have to be factored as part of your journey of like modernization. That is very important. Second part is you have to keep a check, like how you were referring to, how do you keep the architecture evolving? You also need to have a check on your like technical debt. Even though you modularize your architecture, debts will keep coming in. So you will have to have a way in your journey by which you kind of evade that out. So that's also is very important.
An issue we had in Silva is that when we are modernizing our IT sector or IT services, we try to keep our old processes running and just adapt the new solution to what's already running. And as you say, it's an additional cost, while we could just say, okay, let's rethink how to work, how to build new things with the new system and adapt our actual processes.
And lastly, we don't do a big bang. I think now people are very mature to do incrementals. You do a pilot, you see it working, and you expand on it. And that's also, never do a big bang is what I would recommend.
Strangler fig pattern. Is that one?
A big bang approach.
Yes.
All-in approach.
Correct.
Okay, no, so I think this is a topic we can, I'm sure, talk for hours. So any questions from the audience? Okay, let's come back to that, right? I think the real challenge is that if you start with the technology, it's very often fails, right? So you may have COBOL codes running, but if it runs, if it doesn't give you any performance problems, if it doesn't crash, nothing to fix, right? So you need a problem to solve. Like that's where you want to start, right? So this is the real trick. So now let me jump to the second part. So I am the chief architect. So I can give you 100 things I want to fix, which we don't have time to fix. I'm sure it's true for everybody, right? So that's true. So I think it's real challenge for us architects is to how to make the case, how to justify the case for modernization, especially when it is technology and when its effect is not that apparent. Does the panel has any thoughts, any stories you can tell?
It's a very common question. It's there everywhere. When you start with any topic of initiative, okay, how do you get the like investment or funding? You will have to at some point of time go for a convincing to the management in terms of what the impact it will have. I mean, luckily, in my case, the CIO of Bosch Health Campus was having that conviction in terms of this will work. If the business doesn't have the conviction in terms of what will happen, we may have to have further examples in terms of a quantification, how this will actually improve your customer experience, how this will improve your bottom line, or how this will actually keep you avenues for new growth or revenue patterns. So if we can create a business case along these three lines, I think that's a case for justification, I would say.
Yes, like you say, we have to convince stakeholders and prove that the architecture can bring some chain value, for having some financial or approbation. we have the same problem into their parent company. The architecture brings new stuff, but why brings this new stuff? It's because we are stuck right now into old pattern, old technology, and we have to modernize this application. We have to modernize all of our backend and legacy system, and it's why architecture comes right now is just for convince and for tell to the president, okay, architecture can give some value to the enterprise. Yes, sorry.
Yeah. In the university, we have it's a bit different since we don't have actual clients. We are a big administration. Sorry, big administration, and to start modernization or implementing a new tool, we have to wait for the clients or internal client, the business, to ask for something. If not, there is no budget, there is no decision, and yeah, we're stuck. So you can go back to modernizing existing tool that works and that it doesn't crash. It doesn't crash, it's okay, let's continue. That's a big problem.
So in our case, I think that most of the people face in our day work is like, why should I use your platform? I have a cool feature in other, we are cloud, we have gateways in cloud as well. So the common question which I get is like, why should I use WSO2 gateway? I have Azure also, it will spin up. And they have a cool feature. So we as a platform team has to convince them that you should use for this and this governance perspective. And also cost, obviously. And then the cool feature, right, they are looking for, obviously, since they are communicating with us, then we go to the product team. Can you please enable so that, we can, they leverage the centralized gateways. So that's where, we really have to convince, because they are the business team, they are the developer which represent the business team. So we face this kind of, challenges, and then we have to convince even the developer and the business that just give us few days sometimes, and sometimes it's in a big release, so that we can enable this feature.
Okay, we are almost at the end. I'll let each panelist tell like one sentence, like summarize in your thoughts. We'll go from one to one.
I think AI is the new buzzword here, and even in ICA. So we are looking forward that what all use cases our business will bring up in this platform. So yeah, that's what we are heading forward, and yeah, as we are laying down the architecture for next years.
Unfortunately, we didn't have time to get to AI and modernization, but maybe next one.
Yes, just for the last sentence, we saw in the last 2 days a lot of new products. We are enjoy and happy to see this new product and sponsored by AI. We want to try them right now. Thank you.
Thank you.
I mean, for me, like I said, you have to run faster to stay in your place. That's what modernization is all about. And I think we also would be bringing a lot of AI components underneath to make it more efficient and agentic in nature. Yeah.
And for me, I'd say that modernization is a long journey that starts, but quite never stop, and but is necessary for IT department and infrastructure.
Okay, great. I think I'll finish by re-echoing what Balaji said. Modernization is what you do to stay in your place without falling over, because the world is running over you. Thanks very much, please. Thanks.